Hello and welcome to another episode of NPR's Material Concerns. We are your hosts, Marcel Cosman
and Addie Cornish.
And we're here today to bring you the hard-hitting material questions that represent your concerns.
My name's actually Hannah McGregor.
Holy shit.
I pretended I did a jape.
You did a gag. You did a goof.
Oh, you know I love a goof.
You love a goof.
Particularly when it's a lie, because I love lying, but I don't want to do real lies in real life because...
You don't want to realize those lies.
I don't want to realize, you know? And I don't want to do that. And so I tell low-stakes lies to entertain myself.
Sauron's eyes have many spies.
What?
It's a bit. It's from Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, okay. Thank God. I was like, is there rhyming I don't remember in Lord of the Rings?
Can you imagine? You would remember.
I would remember because I think about what do your elf eyes see every single day. Legolas, what do your elf eyes see? What? Don't call them his elf eyes. Just say, what do you see? It's so othering.
Stop othering him. Just because he's a metaphor for a woman doesn't mean you can other him in this way.
Yes, that's actually exactly what it means. And I love being a metaphor for a woman. I think of myself as a metaphor for a woman, actually.
I don't think you're a very good metaphor for a woman.
No, I didn't say I was a good one.
Okay. You're a fun one. You are a fun metaphor for a woman. I feel like you represent femininity in a way that is accessible and marvelous and spectacular, not in a way that is rigid and clearly defined.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's so kind. You know who else I think represents femininity in a way that is marvelous and spectacular and exciting?
Oh, who?
The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
Incredible. Well, that is such a smooth transition, Hannah, because we have a bunch of Jurassic Park related questions from our listeners.
Oh my God.
Shall we get into them?
I would really love to get into them. I'm stoked as hell.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to take the reins on this here Tyrannosaurus because I think you will need to answer most of these questions. Not all, but most.
Yeah, some of these you can answer.
I'll ask you a question and then you be like, you can answer that, Marcel.
That's for you.
I should shout out the very elegant work that Zoe did in organizing these questions. So we have clear access to the usernames of the people who submitted them.
Also, the ones that are about Jurassic Park are highlighted in green, like dinosaurs.
Zoe, 85 out of 10. 85.
Wow.
Great job. Okay, so the first question comes from Katie Did 21. It's a great question. Solid first question. Hannah, what made you decide to write about Jurassic Park?
So, 2 entry points into writing about Jurassic Park for me. One was an episode of Secret Feminist Agenda, which is a podcast that I made from 2017 to 2020 that after the first season, I started breaking them up into full-length episodes that were interviews with people and then mini-sodes where I just talked for like 15 minutes about a thing. And some weeks I knew exactly what I wanted to be talking about. And other weeks I was like, what the absolute fuck? What a terrible idea to make a weekly podcast. And so one of those episodes came up where I was like, oh my God, what the hell am I going to talk about? And I had just watched Jurassic Park like the night before, I believe with my friend Megan. If I watched it with you and you weren't Megan and I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, but I'm pretty sure it was Megan. And
wait, quick question. And was this like a regular rewatch? Like you've seen the movie many times.
Yeah, this was a regular rewatch of a favorite movie from my childhood. And Megan had not seen it before. And I was like, you have to watch it. It's a feminist classic. And she was like, sorry, what? And I was like, yeah, it's a very important feminist classic. You've got to watch it. I don't know at what point I came to understand Jurassic Park as a feminist classic, but it predated this watching for sure. But after successfully convincing Megan that it was in fact a feminist classic, I decided to just re-articulate this theory on an episode of Secret Feminist Agenda. And people were enthused by my interpretation of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And so part of it was just like remembering that people had really liked that. that it had resonated with people as a way of reading a film that has a really important place in a lot of people's childhood viewing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in my last book, In a Sentimental Education, I write about a lot of the stories that were really formative for me as a child, but I really focus on the ones that were sentimental because it fits into the, theme of the book.
Sometimes you choose a title on purpose, right? So that you go back to it and you're like, oh yeah.
It was a way of, narrowing the focus of the book. But there were like other really formative early narratives that I didn't write about because they don't really fall into the sentimental category. And Jurassic Park was definitely one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had already been writing about stories that were important to me when I was young. And this book almost feels like a little afterword to A Sentimental Education. Like it takes up a lot of the same themes. It's doing similar work in terms of thinking about the stories that are formative to us as kids and that sort of shape our imagination of the world and that also become part of our sort of toolkit for navigating the world as we grow older, which is very much what Jurassic Park is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me great pleasure to offer people who love something a way of reading that thing that like brings it to life in a new way for them. Yeah.
That's really nice. And that's a really nice compliment to the work that I think you have long been doing as a scholar of popular texts, where you open them up, see how they work, and often they work in ways that are harmful and hurtful. And so to be able to open something up, see how it works, and be like, this works in this remarkable way that is maybe not legible to most people.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about it, is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not at all a materialist reading of the movie. There's a little bit of that, which comes out in the episode that we did, the part that's about like spectacle in the history of museums. But for the most part, it's very much along the lines of like, a reading that reclaims a story from its actual material conditions of production to put it to work in a different way. And that is sort of, for me, more often the kind of reading that yields a like, oh, how surprisingly delightful. It's just when you like wrench it out of its context of production and say, this means what I want it to mean now. And what it means is lesbian dinosaurs rule the world.
I welcome it. I love it. It's a refreshing tall glass of water in this otherwise parched environment. That is for goddamn sure.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Can I ask you another question?
Please do.
This question comes from Lori Ray Van Laren, who asks, where can we buy Hannah's book in Europe?
An excellent question.
Deeply material.
Deeply material. Okay. For one, you can definitely get it on Amazon, which, is not my recommendation, but they do carry this book and they do ship globally. What I would recommend you do is go to either your library or your local bookstore and ask them to order it for you, because they will have access to like catalogs for international publishers. They will be able to order it in. It might be a little pricier. There is an ebook version. And so, that you should be able to get internationally or anywhere. There will also be an audiobook that will be coming out. I am unfortunately not reading the audiobook.
Oh, I just remembered.
Yeah. But
we were going to listen to the samples.
Oh yeah, I was going to play you the samples because part of the like somebody auditioning for the audiobook was like they sent me 3 samples of possible readers, which was actually really fascinating because the 3 samples were each like so hugely different. So it was really interesting to like hear the different approaches people are taking to audiobook narration. Yes, so I was a little disappointed to not be able to read it myself, but the audiobook narrator who I liked most from the samples that they sent me and who is doing the narration is a Chinese American non-binary actor named Si Chen. And
oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like really cool. And their sample of the reading was really great. So I'm pretty stoked about that as well.
Cool.
So yeah, you should be those digital versions should be even easier to find internationally. But if you want a print version, I would recommend asking your local independent bookstore or library to procure it for you.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Here's a question that I'm going to ask you, Marcel, which is about Jurassic Park, but is also about parenting.
Oh, shit.
And it's from me, Abby. And the question is, are my parents assholes for taking me to Jurassic Park in theaters when I was a very loud toddler? What's your take on bringing toddlers to movies?
Okay. I'm going to approach this question from two different angles, okay? So the one angle is what the experience is like for me when I take my children, who only one of whom is a toddler currently, but I have been taking toddlers to the theater for a few years now. And I am typically overcome with anxiety about how and whether they will disrupt the movie watching experience for other people. I find it very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But as a person who goes to movies, I think that feeling is misplaced. Like, I don't think people who bring toddlers to theaters should be worried about how their toddler behaves. I think there are some movies that are poorly suited to toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw out an example. Let's say you wanted to take your toddler to Schindler's List. I think that the toddler would disrupt the movie watching experience.
The toddler will disrupt the movie watching experience. Anything that is very talky or very immersive.
In a high emotional register.
Yeah.
Not a super comfortable place for toddlers.
Yeah.
A movie that is ostensibly an action movie with lots of like screaming or jump scares or parts that happen and then you laugh at yourself for the experience that you just had. And movies that are playing as retrospectives in cinemas, I think, are especially like, yeah, like if you haven't seen Jurassic Park before and you want to experience it for the first time without any distractions, at home with headphones is the way to do that. But if you want to experience it in the movie theater, you got to be prepared for movie theater shenanigans. You don't when you go to the theater, you don't know what the people around you are going to be doing. And it could be toddlers, but it could also just be teens, just being teens, you know?
I'm a husher.
I'm
in a movie theater with you. You talking? I'm gonna hush you. Oh, you wish it was only it's me in my teacheriest voice going, excuse me, could you please stop talking?
Okay. And this is also something that a movie theater goer might observe and overhear is the shusher. Right?
The shusher.
So I guess what I'm saying is a cinema is a chaotic space. There's a contract, but people break contracts all the time. So are your parents assholes for taking you to Jurassic Park in theaters when you were a very loud toddler? I would say no. Were they taking a gamble? Yes. Were you an asshole for being a loud toddler as the parent of a toddler? Yeah, you were a fucking asshole for being a loud toddler. You were the asshole. Absolutely. I learned some manners.
I went and saw the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra does those, like, we play a movie and then we play the score along with it.
Fun. Yeah.
I've been to a number of them. They're very fun. I went to the Jurassic Park one, and a number of people had brought quite young children. Mm-hmm. And I think those people had forgotten that people get eaten by dinosaurs in the movie, and the kids were scared. Mm-hmm. So some kids had to leave.
It's true. You know what? I hadn't considered the question from the perspective of, is this movie too scary for kids?
I think if your kid is the kind of toddler who's like too young to actually be watching the movie or absorbing it, no problem. Mm-hmm. And then I would say sort of like 7 and up, you make the call, you know your kid. But in between, I think it's too scary.
Yeah, I mean, I took Elliot to see it when we were in Drumheller, and she was 8. I remember being ready, like, okay, we were sitting at the very back. We were sitting on an aisle so that if it was too scary, we could just go. Mm-hmm. We would just go. And she was fine. She was totally fine. She's very brave. Turns out the books that she reads involve a lot of killing.
Yeah.
The Wings of Fire series involves a lot of killing.
Yeah. And she loves Dostoevsky. People are dying all the time.
Famously loves Dostoevsky. When people die in like slow, tragic ways, that's her favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she didn't get a lot of that in Jurassic Park.
No, they die in fast, hilarious ways.
Like the guy on the toilet.
Exactly like when the lawyer gets eaten on the toilet.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
I am making Sanara sing the entirety of the Weird Al song Jurassic Park at my book launch.
Marvelous.
Because this is the kind of outrageous diva I am.
Mm-hmm.
She will be doing it to a backing track, but she did ask her voice teacher if he could accompany her. He is unfortunately busy that day, but was disappointed because apparently the idea of playing at a book launch cabaret about Jurassic Park was very exciting to him.
Mm-hmm.
But she did say that working on this song during her voice lessons is very funny because it includes lines like, "Can you really sing more into a huge Tyrannosaurus ate our lawyer?"
That's a great question.
If you are a friend of mine, you may not have any dignity. I won't allow it.
Well, I have another question for you, Hannah. Speaking of dignity.
Okay.
Were you a dino kid? And did you play archaeologist?
This is from Joni Sharpie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Joni Sharpie.
I was 100% a dino kid. We were a dino household. There were dino books. There were dino figurines. You had a favorite dinosaur. I am to this day baffled if I ask somebody and they don't have a favorite dinosaur. I'm like, wow, did you define yourself as a child? I don't understand. I have very important formative memories of the Museum of Natural History in Ottawa, which was an excellent museum, I think. Based on it's one of those natural history museums that has a whole area that's dioramas of dead stuffed animals. And you know what? I can't get enough of those to this day. It's one of my favorite kind of museum exhibits.
Creepy.
Yeah. Love that museum. Just loved looking at dinosaur fossils. Like, I was obsessed with it, with the whole, and this was like, I was in Ontario. Like, I wasn't near anywhere where digs were actually happening. I'm sure if I'd been in southern Alberta, I would have been even more into it.
You'd probably be a paleontologist.
I probably would be a paleontologist. I definitely played archaeologist. Like, I definitely buried things and then dug them up again. I played historian too. Like, I loved to make a like faux aged manuscript and then bury it and then pretend that I'd found it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. You age it with tea and then you burn around the edges.
But then you buried it. Like, I feel like every witch girl child did that. But then you buried it. And that's the extra, if you will, layer.
Yeah, I will. So yeah, 100%. And my favorite dinosaur when I was a kid was Stegosaurus. And in my household, we called her Stiggy.
Stiggy. I love it.
Yeah.
I know that Joni Sharpie, you weren't asking me, but I was not a dinosaur kid, unfortunately.
What kind of kid were you? If not a dino kid, what?
I was My Little Pony and Barbie kid.
Oh, I was those two. For sure.
Yeah. I think it was just a lack of access.
Yeah, because they didn't have paleontologist Barbie.
They didn't.
And that's rude.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to look up right now. Barbie Jurassic Park. Laura Dern. Just Googling. No, can't have that. That doesn't exist.
That is a goddamn shame.
If somebody wants to just customize a Barbie into Laura Dern from Jurassic Park for me, that would be great. It's really important that it comes with those long gloves and a huge pile of shit.
While we're here, Ricebud is curious about what your favorite type of dino is and why. Is Stegosaurus still your favorite dinosaur?
No, my favorite dinosaur now is currently in this moment of my life is absolutely Deinonychus, the clever girls from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
but it changes with the wind, you know?
Yeah.
I've got a real fondness for Ankylosaurus, which is the one that's got a head that's very hard and it uses it to headbutt things because I identify with that. But because my head's very hard and I headbutt my way through life. I don't know if you've ever noticed that about me.
No.
Smack it, just smack it. And I also really like Dreadnoughtus because she's the biggest dinosaur.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you? You got any dino faves now that you've got a dino kid?
For as long as I can remember having a favorite dinosaur, it's been Triceratops.
An icon.
One of the things that I really like about the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller, Alberta, is that they have a whole section with the various stages of Triceratops evolution. So you can see the different like stages of Triceratops, which I think is really awesome. And I love her because she's a vegetarian.
And because she's a top.
And because she's a top. And boy, howdy, do I need a top.
The world needs more tops, you know?
Simply cannot be bothered. And but having a dino kid and having going out of my way to get dinosaur things for my dino kid, I have learned of the dinosaur Micropachycephalosaurus, which is the longest name for a dinosaur.
Great.
And I really like that.
Is he little?
It's little. It's about the size of a turkey. So one of the smaller dinosaurs, but with the longest name of all is what the book says. Micropachycephalosaurus. That's really fun to say.
I love that Micropachycephalosaurus has little body, big name.
Yeah, little body, big name.
Little body, big name.
Yeah. Big name energy.
I also love Quetzalcoatlus. Purely,
that's a good name
purely
too.
for the mostly for the name, but flying dinosaurs are also cool as hell.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, and able to survive longer.
It turned into birds. Turns out,
turned into birds. Yeah, pretty cool.
Is pretty cool. It is. I gotta say, pretty cool.
Okay, Hannah, I've got another question for you here. There are so many good questions, honestly, truly. Okay, so Assis Pixels. I have no idea if that's the right intonation.
Assis Pixels.
Assis Pixels.
I think it's Assis Pixels. I think that's right.
Assis Pixels wants to know, monsters often equal disability. Do lady dinosaurs subvert that?
The relationship of the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park to monstrosity is a really interesting one. Had I not been like really, because the ECW Pop Classic series is really like focus on one thing. So had this been a book about the entire Jurassic Park I would have talked more extensively about how it's a shifting conversation through the films. So for example, in the first movie, when Dr. Alan Grant has John Hammond's grandchildren, like he's keeping them safe in a tree so that they can sleep before trying to find their way back. And Lex gets really freaked out when they wake up and there are some brontosauruses or Brachiosaurus nearby. And she screams and says, "Don't let the monsters come over here." And Dr. Grant says, "They're not monsters, Lex, they're just animals." But then in the third movie, which is the one where Alan Grant comes back, he specifically refers to the velociraptors as monsters. And part of his argument for why they're monstrous is that they are not natural dinosaurs. So the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were genetically engineered from dino DNA, but that had to be like that had really it's very, very old. And so they filled it in with frog DNA.
That's right.
And, also do a number of other interventions into the dinosaurs, including denying them the hormones that would render any of them male. So they are all female, and also like making it so that their bodies don't produce lysine so that if the park closes down, they'll all die.
Mm-hmm.
And in the much later movies, like in the Jurassic World movies, they are very, because at that point, like when they started making the Jurassic World movies, they were like, a lot of the stuff we thought was true about dinosaurs when the original Jurassic Park came out was like, now we know that that's not true. And so part of how they sort of narratively make sense of that is they say, like, when we engineered these dinosaurs, we made them look the way that we thought they were supposed to look. Like, they're as much a human creation as anything else. And so there's a very Frankenstein-y through line of, like, we have created monsters that then turn on us. They are not natural. We were trying to create something natural, but it's not. And it is going to destroy us, which is often in tension with the, like, these are just wild animals. They're just acting the way that animals will. How could they possibly, like, they don't have any intention. And that interesting liminal space between the monstrous and the natural, like the monstrous and the animalistic, is part of what I think makes the dinosaurs so interesting to close read around things like gender and disability and just the sort of long history of monstrous women being portrayed on screen. And so I think there is some interesting overlap with how monstrousness often is figured as disability. And I think that's part of what makes them so exciting as these sort of chaotic figures that subvert all of the structures and rules that try to restrain them. Because the reason why the scientists made them like that is to try to control them. And they fail. And that rules.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh, man, you guys. I love these monstrous dinosaurs so much.
Well, Girl with the Braid 79 wants to know if they will still enjoy your book, even though they've never seen Jurassic Park. What do you think?
Okay, I'm going to answer this. And I'm going to also kind of answer Stitches and Seeds' question, which is, I've never seen Jurassic Park because I'm a wuss. Should I watch it? Will I be okay? Everyone, you should watch Jurassic Park. It's really good. It is not graphically violent. The most violent thing that you see is a dismembered arm, and you spend very little time on it because it's a jump scare, and honestly, it's not a great prop. So they really don't want the screen to start, the camera to linger on that. Otherwise, it's all implied violence. You hear like a little bit of like a person screaming. For the most part, the people who get eaten by the dinosaurs are bad guys. And so it is the kind of scary movie where it's much easier to side with the scary monsters because they're mostly eating bad guys. There are some exceptions to that, but I don't want to spoil who dies in the movie. But I will tell you that none of our like really key, like no kids die and no women die. That's really important.
No kids, no women.
No kids, no women. But it's a really beautiful movie. It's really well acted and it's very fun to watch. Like, I am an absolute coward. I'm so scared of scary movies. It's not a scary movie. That said, if for whatever reason you refuse, I mean, you should watch it. But if you refuse to watch it, I do provide a plot summary in the book. So you'll be fine.
So you can indeed still purchase Hannah's book.
You can indeed. Okay, listen. Marcel, you know I could talk about Jurassic Park for 100 years, but
I do know that.
I would like to talk about some things that are not Jurassic Park so that you can also answer questions.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want anybody to be able to hear you without paying for it. So we're going to paywall the one where you answer questions.
Ooh, goody.
Oh, you want to hear about Marcel? Get behind the paywall.
This month, Hannah's giving it away for free. Next month, it'll be me.
Okay, so that's the end of part 1. Come back for part 2 if you dare.